Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
You know, the other day, we came out of the Auburn game. We really felt like Lamar gave us the best opportunity. They did a nice job on defense, on securing the edges and forcing them to throw the ball.
We threw the ball and caught it extremely well game one. I mean, Grayson was 8 out of 10. 8 out of 12 game one. Every single ball he threw had a purpose. 2 balls he threw away, 2 got batted, which you can't control, and the other 8 were on the money.
Does it seem like everybody in the country, except Clemson, has a problem at quarterback? South Carolina, Georgia, Louisville, Alabama. Well, maybe not a problem there, but they do have running backs that can offset what they do at quarterback, and their quarterback's been okay. Florida, maybe Auburn a little bit. On and on we go. Boy, does it help to have a great quarterback with your offense. And we're going to see tomorrow night a great quarterback in Deshaun Watson against a team with 3 quarterbacks, perhaps, and no idea who's going to start. And then South Carolina, Georgia, we're going to see 2 teams with questions at quarterback. Georgia's still not settled in on their quarterback situation after the first 2 games because nobody has been outstanding. Of course, you've got Nick Chubb to turn and give the ball to, so that certainly helps ease the pain. The Gamecocks have Brandon Wilds that they can turn and give the ball to, or maybe Sean Carson to turn and give the ball to. Maybe they should line up like Georgia does in 2 tight ends with a fullback and really rely on their running game and forget about the idea of making the passing game an integral part of the offense, maybe just to offset the 7-man front you're probably going to see if you rely strictly on the running game, Professor Tom Hayes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the interesting thing is one of the reasons you having quarterback problems is because Ohio State has them all. One team has 3 quarterbacks. No, it's interesting. I think it's cyclical. You know, we weren't talking about quarterback problems for a long time for a lot of teams, and those guys have moved on. So now they have to find out who the new wave of quarterbacks are. And it's interesting that we say that now because we're moving more to more than a decade of all high school quarterbacks look like they're in that shotgun and everything. And boy, it seems like they get a rash if they have to go into center. I mean, so, and that throws off, that limits some of your offense when you can't just play smash mouth at times.
We've got a great show for you tonight here on Sports Talk. Thanks for joining us. It's a Wednesday night. Now we've got to shuffle things around a little bit because of Clemson's game tomorrow night. So we've got the Governors and our football filibuster coming up to kick things off tonight. The M&M boys will join us at the bottom of the hour. Corey Miller and Will Merritt. K-Mac is in Louisville. He has made it. He'll be joining us in a few minutes to tell us about the trip there and what he's hearing. It's going to be a blackout night at Papa John's Stadium. Because it's a blackout, maybe they could sneak in some Domino's pizza instead of Papa John's if you prefer that. Hey, State man, you agree with that? Back in a moment. Well, they think there's a big debate going to take place tonight out in California at the Reagan Library, which, by the way, do they charge if you don't return a book to the Reagan Library? Do you get hit with a late charge? That's a joke.
I paid for this microphone, Mr. Speaker.
Anyway, that debate is not going to come anywhere near the debate we're about to have here on Sports Talk. It's the football filibuster moved up because ESPN is forcing Clemson and Louisville to play on a Thursday night at 7:30 against the wishes of most, but that's the way it is in the world of college football. We welcome in the governors, David Beasley and Jim Hodges. Governor Beasley, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to hear your voice, and Jim got me one of those games last week, so I got to redeem my honor this week.
Not a bad start for you considering your history. You're 5-5. You're over 500, 11-9, and Governor Hodges 6-4 last week. So you've moved to the lead again at 12-8. Now, Governor Hodges, what kind of debater were you back in your political heyday?
Well, I think Governor Beasley and I were both pretty good debaters, but our skills are very rusty right now.
You feel a little rusty, huh? Governor Beasley, were you the lead debater in your debate class at Darlington High School?
Let me tell you what, the last thing on my mind when I was in high school and college was politics and debating.
I don't blame you. I'm sure you had many other things on your mind when you were in college. All right.
It was books.
Mm. Even at Clemson, you had to go to class?
Don't push the point. Just move on.
All right, we're going to take you at your word. All right, let's get to this week's games, fellas, and Governor Beasley. We'll let you lead off tonight, and we thank both of you for being with us. You had to adjust your schedules. I know you're both on the road, traveling, doing important things. We thank you for being with us. And Governor Beasley, tonight, we've got a great list of games. The picking gets tougher as the season rolls on. Let's begin with Florida at Kentucky and the Wildcats getting 3 at home.
Kentucky's going to lose, and I think they're going to lose more than 3, and so I'm going with Florida.
Taking the Gators. What about you, Governor Hodges?
You know, the Gators weren't really impressive last week. I'm going to take Kentucky at home with 3.5 points. I think I will take that.
All right, you got them. Ole Miss at Alabama. Let's see what Chad Kelly is all about, Governor Beasley. And Alabama laying 6.5 to a team that's averaging about 70 points a game thus far.
I think Bama wants some revenge from last year. They're playing in Tuscaloosa, and I think Alabama all the way.
Roll Tide. Governor Hodges.
Yeah, I'm with David on that one. I think Alabama's important to this game, and they'll beat them by more than 6.5.
Okay, Tigers and Tigers down in the other Death Valley, the fake Death Valley as far as we're concerned. It's Auburn at LSU. LSU laying 6.5. Governor Beasley.
Oh, my Lord. It's going to be a low-scoring, close game, and I think there's no way to predict this one. But I'm going to go with Auburn, all because of the family ties, and that's it, Auburn.
That's it. Muschamp against Kevin Steele on the defensive side in this one, Governor Hodges. What do you think?
Well, thank God my wife is from Darlington County and not from Alabama. That allows me to pick LSU. What's that going to do, David? I think LSU is going to win that one pretty handily.
Now, Governor Beasley, you got to move past the family influences in making your decisions here.
Oh, no, heck, I don't either.
All right, listen, you're your own man. You make your own decisions. Georgia Tech at Notre Dame, Fighting Irish at home getting 2.5. Governor Beasley.
Oh, this is another tough one. This is a toss-up, but I'm going to go with home field advantage in Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, a little beat up. They've lost a quarterback. They've lost a running back. They've lost a tight end. And I think they've also lost a wide receiver to injuries. And Tech's been rolling, but they haven't played anybody yet. They'll find out this weekend, Governor Hodges. You think what?
Well, let's see. The first game at home for Notre Dame and the Patriots coming to the United States. I'm taking Notre
Dame. They should take him over there to Notre Dame while he's here and let him go see Touchdown Jesus and see what he thinks of that. Nebraska at Miami, Governor Beasley, and the Hurricanes are laying 3.5.
I think Nebraska's still struggling. I'm going with Miami on that one, especially at home.
You got him. Governor Hodges.
Same with me. I think Miami.
Taking Miami. All right. Now, Governor Hodges, you shall lead off, and it is a good Northwestern team and a good Duke team, and Duke is laying 3.5.
I'm going to take Duke in that game. Northwestern had that nice opening victory. I didn't see what they did last week, but I think I'm going to take Duke.
All right, Governor Beasley.
I think Coach Cutlass he's got it going. I'm going with Duke.
Taking Duke as well. Okay, Illinois at North Carolina. Tar Heels favored by 9.5 at home. Governor Hodges.
Illinois program is an absolute mess right now. I'm going to take the Tar Heels at home. I think they'll win by 10.
Yeah, I agree with you, Governor Beasley.
I'm going with Tar Heels too, but they sure can fool you on the wrong side from time to time. I'm going with the Tar Heels.
Tar Heels, yeah. Well, they were, of course, they didn't play anybody last week, but they scored some points and kept their turnovers down. We'll see how they do against the Illini. How about this one? Florida State at Boston College, and BC getting 7.5 at home against the Seminoles. Governor Hodges.
I think I'm going to take Florida State in that. It's always hard to say, but I think the order will be restored this week. Florida State will win that one by double digits.
Tough start for them last week, but they finished strong, Governor Beasley.
I was reading a good bit on that game, and everybody's saying that Boston College has got to act together. They've got Florida State's numbers with regards to spread, but I'm with Jim. I just think Florida State will win it more than 7.5 points. And I'm going with Florida State as well.
Everett Golson, South Carolina native. See what he's got. All right, to the big games. On Saturday in Athens, South Carolina, 16.5-point underdog to Georgia. The Gamecocks have won 4 of the last 5. Spurrier is 16-6 all-time against Georgia, but Georgia leads the overall series by a healthy margin. What do you think this time, Governor Hodges?
Well, I went to the game Saturday, and it was obviously a big disappointment. But I think 16.5 points is too many. I mean, I think this game will be a lot closer than that, and I'll take Carolina.
Governor Beasley?
Same program as Governor Hodges. Carolina.
You like the Gamecocks and the points, huh?
I do, and I think they play Georgia. They can play Georgia pretty good. They step up on that game. Spurrier's not going to be embarrassed again.
Yeah.
I think.
Usually a tight one. All right, tomorrow night in Louisville, a blackout at Papa John's Stadium. Clemson, Louisville. Louisville getting 6 at home. Governor Hodges.
Clemson's going to win, but I'm going to take Louisville in the points. I think that's a big game for them. Clemson hadn't been tested yet just on the road. So I think Clemson will win, but I think they'll win by field goal.
Governor Beasley?
I'm afraid Jim might be right. When you look at Clemson's first 2 games, and they started out slow and they struggled with Appalachian State, and then things started falling into place. they start out that slow with Louisville, they're gonna end up in some serious trouble. But I'm gonna still go with the Tigers and just pray they get a touchdown at the right time to take it over that spread. So Tigers.
Very nice. All right, now you guys only differ on 3 games: Louisville, Clemson, LSU, Auburn, and Kentucky, Florida. Governor Beasley, would you like to make any amendments?
I'll let you know Friday.
No, there is no Friday show now. There is no Friday football filibuster. This is the football filibuster for the week. This is your only chance.
No, I'm sticking with what I got.
You got it. All right, Governor Hodges, you?
I'll do the same. I think I'll stick with my pick.
Very good. Gentlemen, have a great night, and we will talk to you next week.
But,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Governor Jim Hodges, Governor David Beasley. And we thank them for their participation. Tonight, we go into the week with Governor Hodges leading 12-8, Beasley at 11-9. Still very tight, far from a blowout at this stage of the season. Governor Hodges has never, ever lost in a season-long football filibuster. K-Mac coming up from Louisville in a moment.
All right, K-Mac, unmute yourself for me, please. I'll put you down so everybody could hear us on the stream without your noise in the background. I can mute you, but I can't unmute you. It's strange. Can you find him, McCrary? Can you hear me? There we go.
There we go.
All right, cool. You sound good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Excellent. All right, cool. We'll bring you in here, and then give me the M&M boys. Corn's talking to me. Hold tight. Oh, P.S. K-Mac, you got $1 waiting on you from the vending machine guy here.
Oh, good. Well, and I quit. That's going to set me up for life. I'm glad he brought the $1, though. That $1 was what I needed to live on Easy Street.
All right, guys, stand by. Here we go.
All right, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Wednesday night, closing in on a football weekend, starting tomorrow night up at Louisville, Clemson, and the Cardinals. ACC opener for both teams. Tigers trying to go to 3-0. Louisville trying to avoid an 0-3 start for the first time since 1984. And K-Mac has made his way up to Louisville, which is I've only been through Louisville, never stopped there, but it appears to be a very nice tourist town with, of course, Churchill Downs and the bat manufacturer, the home of Muhammad Ali, who will be honored tomorrow night as part of the pregame festivities, and the blackout. K-Mac, from what you can tell, getting into the town, a lot of excitement starting to build for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think some people look like they're ready to have a blackout tonight, potentially around Louisville. The college students, every night can be a blackout when you're in college.
No, this is true. We're not talking about their mental state. We're talking about their clothing.
Or the drunken state.
Yeah, they're going to do the gimmicky blackout that every school tries once: a blackout, a white out, a red out, a green out. Tennessee did the checkerboard, just whatever it takes to get people fired up for a game and make them feel like it's real, which is fine. I've never been big on those sorts of things, but maybe I'm just a curmudgeon, Corn.
Yeah, you're just not a gimmicky type of guy, K-Mac. You got to think outside the box from time to time.
It's like those T-shirts they throw out at games, and you see fans just going crazy, acting like fools to get some cheap T-shirt that has Papa John's on the back of it that you'd never want to wear anywhere. But fans do ridiculous things to get them. And where's your respect? Where's your self-respect? But I'll tell you this, Corn, speaking of respect and self-respect, that Louisville football team will be looking for some respect, and I'm sure their manhood has probably been questioned here over the past several days by the coaching staff, by the student body, and I continue to think that Louisville is going to come out and really push Clemson to the limit tomorrow night and give them their best shot.
Mm-hmm. With what at quarterback? Or should I say with who at quarterback?
Find out Louisville's quarterback before we find out the Houston Texans, who are not going to announce their quarterback until the beginning of the game against the Panthers Sunday. And I don't think you'll hear anything from Petrino before the kickoff against Auburn. In the pregame interview, he was asked, who are you going to start at quarterback? He said, we waited this long. You have to wait and find out. And then he threw out the freshman, and he threw an interception on the first play of the game. So we'll find out tomorrow night, probably about first snap, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, have you heard anything about Clemson maybe feeling, I wouldn't say comfortable, but think they know what they'll see defensively since they've seen Todd Grantham in action at Georgia?
Well, yeah, maybe. I think they have an idea. They have two games to look at of Louisville. Both these teams now at least have somewhat of an idea. Clemson maybe had the luxury of keeping things a little closer to the vest in their first two layup games against Wofford and App State. But certainly they have an idea what Louisville is going to do offensively and defensively in those games. I mean, the way Louisville defensed Auburn will be a big factor for them.
All right, K-Mac, Louisville pretty good at home over the years, especially at the Papa John Stadium. So Clemson will need to play their A game, I think, because Louisville is going to bring a great effort, but they're missing a lot of talents. And we'll be right back. And we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Wednesday night, and we'll get to some phone calls coming up here in a little bit, give you a chance to talk about the game tomorrow night in South Carolina, Georgia, and anything else you want to talk about. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Also, some comments from Mark Richt and Bobby Petrino as they get ready for their respective opponents, plus maybe something from USC's practice field today as the Gamecocks are coming off the practice field as we speak. The pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, going to hook up with him in a moment. He is over at the USC Horseshoe because Darius Rucker is in town conducting a concert over on the Horseshoe at USC, and he's over there with that. Hope to hook up with him in a moment. And Will Merritt, will catch him in just a moment as well. Also saw from USC where country music superstar Brad Paisley is coming to Columbia the weekend of the Vanderbilt game to do a free concert at the new Alumni Center.
Oh, okay.
Down in the Vista area.
Now, Darius Rucker is just doing this performance because it's the opening of the new journalism school on the Horseshoe. That's what he's doing.
Very nice. Very nice.
That school we all begged for while we were still there and never got it.
I didn't know any better back then. It was down the Coliseum, and it seemed to me to be cutting edge.
Yeah, soundproofing was excellent.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't know any better about anything at that particular time. So, but I'm sure they have a nice new home now to produce a bunch, as K-Mac would call them, many more new fanboys to go cover teams here in the future. Okay. So anyway. Let's get to our M&M boys here on this Wednesday night, and Will Merritt from Clemson, the former Tigers star, is with us, and we're working on getting the other half of the M&M boys, Corey Miller. Hopefully he'll be with us in just a moment. Will, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Man, we're doing great. Thank you for being with us. Okay, so Tigers 2-0 as expected, and going up to Louisville for their ACC opener tomorrow night. Quick turnaround. Did you, in your time, ever face the schedule where you had to play on a Saturday and then turn around and play, especially on the road, on the Thursday? Did you face that?
I did. It's not as big a deal as what most people make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
As a player, you're ready to go. So the only difference, Phil, is a lot of guys need that film time, and they need to be able to focus on what the other team does from a schematic standpoint, and Clemson's going to have to, be able to adjust pretty quickly. But outside of that, they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the Appalachian State game, some issues on the offensive line. I thought Ryan Norton and Jay Guillermo both had some struggling moments snapping the ball, and And, of course, Norton is out for this game. So what kind of concerns, if any, do you have about the offensive line going in?
Well, I think that the concerns with the offensive line are pretty much going to maintain themselves all year long. I think that, anytime that you're handling the football, that's a big deal. So if you're a center, quarterback, skill position, punt returner, wide receiver, whatever it happens to be, anytime that you're handling the ball, that's a big deal because there's potential for turnover. So I think this is a big deal for them to be able to get that center quarterback exchange down and know that without a shred of doubt that they have this secured. But at the end of the day, once a quarterback is comfortable with his center, then he wants to develop a rapport with him. And so I think that's more importantly, the calls that take place between the center and the guards and the tackle and back to the quarterback. I think they need to make sure that is secure, but long before anything else.
Will, do the players and even the coaches, when you get into a situation like this, do you mention at all any efforts to attack early and lack of a better term, the old cliche, take the crowd out of the game and get them quiet as soon as possible?
I'm unclear what your question is.
Yeah. Do you talk about from the get-go just executing, maybe getting the quick strike to take the crowd out of the game, especially when you're on the road? This Louisville crowd, obviously the blackout, they're going to be hyped up, and you just love as a team on the road to see if you can just take the crowd out of the game early.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now, and of course, absolutely. Anytime that you're traveling with youth, and this is the first time that a lot of you guys have been on the road, yeah, you want to take the crowd right out of it. I do think that Coach Swinney will do that. I think Dabo will probably take as good a shot as he can of, getting all of his guys settled down. A blackout is only as good as your first couple of scores. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, it doesn't matter what the crowd's wearing. I mean, if you're down 14-0, 21-0, whatever it happens to be, nobody gives a crap. you're at that point in time, you realize that you're in a dogfight and you're not going to win. So, to me, it's all about those guys on that line of scrimmage. If they hit the other team in the mouth and, whatever, Joe Blow's wearing in section 3, row 9, none of that matters. So sometimes I find it to be a little bit comical when they say, well, we want to neutralize the crowd. I mean, we're talking about Louisville. We're not talking about going into Williams-Brice, or we're not talking about going to Doak Campbell. We're not talking about a place that's real intimidating. I mean, I know that everybody's going to talk about the fact that they're traveling for the first time on the road and youth and all that stuff, and that does play a factor. But as far as the crowd is concerned, I mean, I'm not too hyped up about that.
So I don't hear a whole lot of respect for Louisville coming from you.
Well, I mean, I respect anybody that we're playing. I respected Wofford. I respected Appalachian State. I respect Louisville. But at the same time, I mean, it's kind of like, you guys almost taunted last week a little bit with the whole, ACC had a bad week, and now the SEC has a horrible weekend. You never know until you go into a weekend and understand how people are going to perform. You have to respect everybody. Did Auburn really, respect Jacksonville State? Did Clemson really respect Wofford? Did they really respect Appalachian State? Did South Carolina really respect Kentucky? Of course they do. Everybody has to respect their opponent to a certain degree, or else, guys, you're going to get embarrassed. And so when Clemson goes on the road to Louisville, you have to respect them. You're asking me a question about the crowd. I don't respect Louisville's crowd because I've played in a lot of crowds that blackouts, whiteouts, grayouts, doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters if you're not prepared for that opponent. And for an offensive lineman, if you're not prepared for that defensive lineman, guess what, guys? You're going to get embarrassed. And if that wide receiver is not prepared for what that DB is going to do, you're going to get embarrassed. And if that free safety is not embarrassed for rolling up and trying to take on a 220-pound running back in the open field, he's going to get embarrassed. And so those are the things that I think people forget. There's a game within the game that you have to be prepared for.
With all that said, how's it going to turn out tomorrow night, in your opinion?
Well, I think Clemson's going to win. I do. I think they're well coached. I think they had superior athletes. I think that they have recruited better players. And honestly, I don't see Clemson going into places like they are, 10 years ago where they're ill prepared. I think they're going into places that they are well prepared. They're well coached. So I think they win. Do I think they're going to look pretty the entire time? No, I do not think it's going to be a pretty win. I think there's going to be turnovers. I think that they're still early enough in the season that they're going to see some ugly aspect of their offense. I think the defense still has some very porous natures, but I still think they win the ball game.
Hey, Will, we thank you very much. Sorry we couldn't match you up with your brother tonight, but we're going to try and catch him here in the next little bit or in the next hour of the program because he was busy doing some other duties. But we thank you as always and hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Will Merritt, one half of the M&M boys. We'll try to catch the Pastor of Pain here in just a moment.
K-Mac, can you hear me? Actually, I've got you muted still. If you could unmute yourself, that'd be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, muted my. There you go. I'm here.
Hey, all right, I'm missing out on Corey. He's out doing Darius Rucker things. So we're going to bring you back in here.
Okay.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network, presented by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Not able to hook up with the Pastor of Payne just yet. We'll continue to try. 800-956-7266 is our number. If you'd like to join the program now, we have time and room for your call. Some folks were holding. Those folks did not hold for very long. 800-956-7266 is the number. I have an interesting email to share with you here. This is from Tony, and K-Mac in Louisville. Feel free to chime in on what I'm about to share with you. Tony did a heck of a lot of research about South Carolina and the football team. And, of course, this is the reaction to losing a game at home that people think you should win. I saw one media type today is already putting out names of replacement coaches for Steve Spurrier after a loss to Kentucky on Saturday. That's being Johnny on the spot there, I would say. Anyway, this guy, Tony, writes in, and he did a bunch of research on USC's recruiting classes. And she says here, because they were on 82 scholarship limits, they averaged 20.5 scholarships per season starting back in 2011. And he listed 38 players in a 3-year cycle, 15 signees in 2011. And what he has listed here are the players that, as he calls them, bad evaluations. It's quite a number of players. These are players that never really contributed in a major way at South Carolina. I'll run through them quickly. In 2011, from that class, Sheldon Royster, Jameer Jeffrey, Tanner McElvoy, Ahmad Christian, Kyle Harris, Edward Muldrow, KJ Brent, Deion Green, Mason Harris, Angelo Watley, Caleb Broom, Drew Owens, Ronnie Martin, Quincy McKinney, and Jordan Montgomery. In 2012, 13 signees. He included Shaq Rowland here. I'm not sure he belongs on that list, but he's got Shaq Rowland. Maybe he put him on there because he ended up leaving. Brock Stadnick, Quentin Smith, Kawan Lewis, Jody Fuller, Kelvin Rainey, Brendan Nosovich, Kyle Fleetwood, Kendrick Sally, Nick St. Germain, Joe Harris, Jostin Thomas, and Carlos Hood. And then 2013, Natai Rogers, Devin Washington, Bryce King, Gerald Turner, J.P. Vonashek, Allie Groves, Ronnie Martin, Mohamed Kamara, Demetrius Smalls, and Devontae Covington. Demetrius Smalls, I do not believe, was a signee. I don't remember him being a recruit. I better go back and check. I think he was a walk-on.
Didn't he name some guys in there who were academic?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's all about evaluations and production and making proper evaluation. And K-Mac's people are now questioning because of the Gamecocks' depth issues and things of that nature. Now people are starting to dive into the recruiting ability of this staff, the ability to evaluate players and develop players. Now, you know, Tanner McElvoy was a guy that they thought was going to come in and develop into a quarterback, and he did, but he did it somewhere else, namely Wisconsin. Of course, he also played some safety there too.
And
but
he didn't do it that well at Wisconsin.
That's a large number of players out of your program in a 3-year period. That's why you find yourself taking walk-ons and making them starters.
Right. That's how you lose to Kentucky 2 straight years. I think there's a combination of things that have happened here. When South Carolina got on their big roll, they were plucking a very fertile Palmetto State and getting on Gilmore and Jadeveon Clowney, Devontae Holloman. The list goes on and on. I think that talent pool is not as great. You had 2 great recruiters and great developers leave the program to take other jobs, and Ellis Johnson and Brad Lawing. And I still think that Steve Spurrier Jr. in today's recruiting era, where you've got to be texting these guys constantly, staying on top of them constantly, to his own admission has said he doesn't really like talking on the phone a lot and doing that. So guys last year that decommitted, we're not talking about on that list. I mean, people want to talk about Steve Spurrier's age. The big issue at South Carolina is they are getting left behind in recruiting, and they're not being able to secure, lock up, and bring in and hold on to the big time recruits that you have to have around the guys that they have now. They have a solid group of guys, but you have to have some playmakers around this group of guys. And they used to have playmakers all over the field on both sides of the ball. I named a few of them just a minute ago. Right now, they don't, and that's why they are where they are.
Speaking of recruiting, we'll get to that in just a moment. Plus, a little bit more from this email I'll get to a little bit later on because, his points are very, very smart here. He goes through the list of wide receivers that South Carolina has signed in recent years, going back to 2006, and questions the quality of players at that position.
Am I sounding okay on this end?
Now, just looking further at that list that the writer had given us, and the only player in that list who is still in the program, well, there's two. One is Shamir Jeffrey, and the other is Demetrius Smalls, and Demetrius Smalls is a walk-on cornerback from Bluffton, so I can't hold anything against him. Every one of those other players I mentioned was recruited, signed to a grant and aid, and is no longer in the program or never got in the program. So you're right there, writer. Not a very good job of evaluating talent and making sure you're getting players who can develop, win, and get into your program. That's and Pro was saying off the air, that happens everywhere. Yeah, but compare it to Clemson. I mean, you have to compare it to Clemson. Everything South Carolina does should be compared to Clemson and vice versa. Sure, that's your in-state rival. That's who you're compared to.
Compared to the other schools in the SEC, though.
I compare them to Clemson. I mean, you're drinking the same water as Clemson. You're eating the same food as Clemson.
The water in the upstate seems to be fresher to me.
Well, whatever. They're not losing players at this rate, and they're not missing on players evaluation-wise at this rate in my eyes that I can see.
I will say this. You can look at that all you want, and to me, it's just, in my opinion, it's a convenient excuse, because if a certain player doesn't get a personal foul penalty at the 2-yard line, you score a touchdown, it may have been the difference in that game. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with evaluation. The other key is this. You have to look at things two ways. South Carolina had, 7 decommitments?
9.
9 decommitments. My question is, how in the world did a school that have 9 decommitments still have the 19th ranked recruiting class, even after all those defections?
Ask the evaluators on the recruiting websites. They know more than anybody. Two recruiting offensive lineman Pete Leota of Asheville, 11:30 tomorrow morning, announcing his decision, USC or Virginia Tech. He told us last night he has made his decision. I think today he informed the schools of his decision. He said he feels good about his decision. The deciding factors, the coaches, the football program. He said both schools are great. Enjoyed his last visits there, enjoyed the atmosphere and the fans there. So 11:30 tomorrow morning. Receiver DeAndre Overton of Greensboro. His team is 4-0. He's off to a great start. He has been to East Carolina to see his brother. He was at NC State last weekend. He is going to Clemson for Notre Dame, going to go back to Tennessee for a game at some point. Has not seen any officials, but his top five, Clemson, Tennessee, North Carolina, NC State, Nebraska, those will likely get the officials. One-time Clemson commitment, linebacker Rashawn Smith set an official to Oregon for September 24th. USC 2017 quarterback target Jake Fromm going to Alabama Saturday. In basketball, USC had an in-home with 6'2" Malik White, Whiteville, Virginia. He's in the 2016 class. USC offered 6'8" Mello Eggleston of Baltimore, 2017 class. Clemson offered two 2017 guys, center DeJour Dickens of Charlottesville, 6'8" Derek Culver, Warren, Ohio. Top of the hour break.
All right, K-Mac, I'm doing Morgan here. You just stand by.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
A busy Wednesday here on Sports Talk. Back to your phone calls in just a couple of minutes. K-Mac will rejoin us from Louisville as well, plus comments from Mark Ricks, Bobby Petrino coming up. And we haven't given up on the Pastor of Pain. We may catch him a little bit later in this hour. But right now it's time for the Braves Report, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union and by Elite Roofing and Restoration. And, well, the Braves did their part last night. The Yankees did not do theirs. And now tonight, Mike Morgan, poor Shelby Miller goes back out to the mound. He's running out of opportunities. What's he got? Maybe after tonight, 2 more starts at most?
I haven't done the math on that. I would say 2 or 3 at the most. And again, it's been since May 17th, 21 consecutive, a guy with a sub-3 earned run average. If he pitches a no-hitter tonight, he might get enough run support to get a win. He might. There's no guarantee, though.
I bet you. I bet you if he pitched a no hitter, he'd get a no decision.
He probably would. The way his luck has been going, it's a fun matchup. As I'm sitting here now behind home plate, it's kind of neat to see Toronto. They're a real exciting team. They're number 1 in almost every offensive category in Major League Baseball, including homers, runs, slugging percentage, OPS, you name it. And they've got 3 SEC players. Justin Smoke is not in a starting lineup. I was hoping to see Justin back in there after breaking a home run last night. They got Josh Donaldson from Auburn. And, of course, David Price on the mound tonight from Vanderbilt. So it's kind of a trip down memory lane for me because I remember calling games with all 3 of those guys playing in the SEC. The Braves will try to pick up another win, which would be unexpected if they could somehow win this series against a very good Toronto team.
You know, it's interesting. We look at the records, Mike. You talked about the pitching matchup. David Price, 15-5. Shelby Miller, 5-14. Yet their earned run averages are almost identical.
Right. That's an outstanding point. And again, that goes to, which is why I've always said that the way to judge a pitcher is not on wins and losses. Earned run average is a much better indicator on what kind of stuff he has, how he's really performing. David Price has the best offense in baseball behind him, and Atlanta and Shelby Miller has the worst. So that would explain the records as much as anything else. But Atlanta got just enough last night and just enough pitching for Julio Teheran to eke out a 1-run victory, a walk-off with Anderson Simmons. And again, we'll see if they can provide any punch for Shelby Miller. Anybody on the planet deserves a win. It's Shelby Miller.
Yeah, I think everybody's pulling for Shelby Miller tonight all around the world, including me. So let's see if the Braves can come through again. You know, they're not in a playoff race, but they can affect the playoff race by upsetting teams that are in the playoff race. Thank you, Mike. Enjoy your game tonight. No, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say something about where Mike is sitting in Turner Field and things that happened there, but I'm not going to Not going to bring that up. Mike Morgan with our Braves report here on Sports Talk. We'll update you on USC's practice, get to some phone calls, hear from Kevin McCrary, and do a bunch more in a moment.
All right, K-Mac, unmute yourself if you would one more time, please, sir.
Our recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk was brought to you by Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan. Back to school time is a great time to invest in a loved one's college education. Visit futurescholar.com for more information. All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at sportstalksc. On Facebook, it's Sports Talk Radio Network, and the website, sportstalksc.com. Just to wrap up, we're going to get calls in a second. Just to wrap up this very long but detailed and informative email, the writer writes that he was shocked at how poorly South Carolina has evaluated, recruited, and developed wide receivers. And he lists all the wide receivers the Gamecocks have signed since 2006. Mo Brown, Chris Hale, Joe Hills, Larry Freeman, Deion Korn, Matt Clements, Jason Barnes, Michael Bowman, D.L. Moore, Torrey Gurley, Alshon Jeffrey, Lamar Scruggs, Demario Bennett, D'Angelo Smith, Charles Holmes, Ace Sanders, Nick Jones, Javon Bell, Demir Bird, Shamir Jeffrey, K.J. Brent, Shaq Rowland, Quentin Smith, Jody Fuller, Shaq Davidson, Terry Guger, Debo Samuel, Jalen Christian, DJ Neal, Christian Owens. Did not include Pharaoh because Pharaoh was signed as a cornerback, but of course he is now a wide receiver. Well, from that group, 3 made it to the NFL. 2 are still in it. But, yeah, a lot of nondescript there in terms of the wide receivers too. But you make a great point, Pro. You make a great point. Knock in one of those drives for a touchdown, not a field goal, win the Kentucky game. Nobody's even thinking about this. You're 2-0 going to Georgia, and you think you got a chance for something special.
I understand.
Nobody's talking about Spurrier's age. Nobody's putting out on Twitter a list of presumed replacements, etc., and you avoid all this kind of stuff. But this is what happens. You lose in college football at a high-level Power 5 conference team, and everybody's thinking about firing you.
But,
or you retire.
I always.
Or why you're losing.
Now, I will say this. Part of the problem is I'm getting a little bit old, and I remember things. And what I remember.
That's the complete opposite of what happens to most people.
Huh?
Most people, when they get older, they forget things.
No, I'm like an elephant. I get old and ornery, and I remember things. No, I was joking because I always noticed years and years Dick Sheridan's NC State teams never was anybody's top 20 recruiting class. But when it came on Saturday,
they were in everybody's top 20.
They were everybody's top 20. I mean, Missouri is another aspect of this. People said it would take Missouri a few years to build their recruiting base to compete in the SEC. Guess who didn't listen to that? Missouri's players didn't. Mm-hmm. And even though they were nobody's top 25 the last few years, they've won the last 2 Eastern Division titles. Then people will throw at you, yeah, but they got blown out in the championship game. Yeah, but they made it there. So, the recruiting, yes, but I call it a convenient excuse, not an explanation.
All right, 800-956-7266. And a couple of quick notes from Georgia's practice and from USC's practice. At Georgia, Grayson Lambert, they said, looked pretty sharp when throwing to his receivers today. So was Bryce Ramsey. Let's see here. Defensive end Reginald Carter was not at practice today. He's been dealing with a bit of an injury situation. I'll give you a little bit more. That was from a little while ago. I've got a more recent update. Brian Schottenheimer talked with the media a little while ago after their practice, and he said Grayson Lambert, let's see, not panicking about his quarterbacks. Grayson Lambert, Bryce Ramsey, both could play against the Gamecocks on Saturday, and he said there's a good chance that maybe 3 quarterbacks might play. The other quarterback is Fatan Balta. He could play as well. So, Georgia's working 3 guys at quarterback. South Carolina today, after their practice, Lorenzo Nunez says he practiced a lot with the ones today. And he's probably going to play a good bit or some against Georgia on Saturday. Debo Samuel should start. This is from David Cloninger of thestate.com. Go Gamecocks. Go Gamecocks.com. I'm not saying the cheer Go Gamecocks. I'm saying the web address, GoGamecocks.com. Yeah. That did sound like I was cheering for the Gamecocks, didn't it? David Cloninger of thestate.com, Go Gamecocks, reported No, I should say GoGamecocks.com, just to be clear. Anyway, Debo Samuel, he writes, should start, according to Steve Spurrier Jr. Hayden Hurst, walk-on tight end, said they could be using many 2 tight end sets this week, try to limit Georgia's speed rushers. Sean Elliott was wary of their linebackers. And, of course, this is important. The Gamecocks will wear white jerseys and garnet pants. That's always the most important item, I think, of any practice report.
Why did everybody don't like to wear the all white anymore? I thought it was classic.
I love their all white look on the road. K-Mac, what do you think of the Gamecocks all white look on the road?
Yeah, white's a sharp color. I think that's what they're wearing, right? That's what you just mentioned, that they're wearing the all whites.
No, garnet pants.
Oh, garnet pants. I thought I saw they were doing all white on their Twitter feed earlier today.
But David Cloninger, white tops and garnet pants. And David, he is the fashion guru.
He would. I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's like back to the blackout, what the students wear in the stands and what color uniforms or what the band plays. Just who's going to line up and play better. But that's going to be a big test in Athens. Interesting to hear that Lorenzo Nunez is getting a lot of first-team reps. And you wonder if Steve Spurrier is going to turn him loose a little bit more against the Bulldogs and see what he can do out there.
Well, you might as well. What are you waiting on?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have anything to lose as a double-digit dog there in Athens. And he's got some of these young guys. He does need to see what they can do, and they have to try to find some guys and figure things out. And I think in 2 games, some guys that maybe they expected to make plays haven't been making those plays. So why not get Nunez out there? Then again, he is a true freshman who didn't throw for a lot of yards in high school. And you have to worry, just like with Perry Orth, what happened when the game was on the line on first down. He made a throw that you just can't make on first down or really any time when you're trying to win the game and you're having success. And with inexperienced guys, they tend to press a little bit, and playing on the road in Athens, that is a very tall order for a kid that was this time last year playing in high school.
All right, 800-956-7266. Let's try and get to some phone calls here for a few minutes, and then we'll hear from the opposing coaches, and maybe we'll catch Corey later tonight. If not, we'll catch him tomorrow or Friday, but maybe no later than tomorrow. We go to Hank in Columbia, and Hank, man, thank you for waiting and being patient. You, sir, have paid the price, and for that, you get nothing but free airtime.
Hey, Phil, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
All right. Phil, I have a comment that I wanted to make and hear your opinion on a comment, and then a second question. But I wanted to make my first comment first, to your opinion, and then ask the second question. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Because I waited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My first comment is also the guy that sent you all the information about those the recruits, and my 2 comments to that was, one, a number of those receivers that you named, Gurley, Jeffrey, Demir, Bruce Ellington, you go back to McKinley, and all of them, almost, that's like 5, 6 of those receivers actually played some type of down in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think he included Bruce Ellington because Bruce originally signed for basketball and then came over to football, so I don't think he was including him.
Yeah, but I only say that because he was talking about in developing and all that. Mm-hmm. And I think each year they've had a receiver that's managed to hook on, and Demir's still on with the team now, with Alshon and Bruce, those guys in there. Mm-hmm. So, and the other thing with that statement is a number of those guys you mentioned when he talked about evaluating and developing, their final choice is like you're taking a Beulah men.
No, hang on one second, Hank. We got to go to a break here, and we'll let you finish your comment and your question in just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, back to Hank in Columbia. Go ahead, Hank. Finish up your comment, and what's your question?
Yeah, and like I was getting to on the first comment with Abdullah Man and a number of those guys that he mentioned. Abdullah Man, take for example, there was a strong push for Alabama wanting to sign him, and if he had chosen Alabama over us, he would have been there. And so sometimes these folk that do all these recruiting breakdowns and all, they use getting the talent like Saban and recruiting like Saban and all that, but a number of those guys you mentioned, their final schools were schools where these people say the recruiting's so great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, these are guys that were, in some cases, looking at other major SEC, ACC, Big Ten programs, and So, what happened to them?
Yeah, well, and that's why I said, sometimes. Those academic things, those things that Pro mentioned, they just bear out, because Chad Rowland, for all intents and purposes, of that talent, it was the school thing that was bothering him. So, but this is my question, and I had an issue with something. I really enjoyed your show, Corn, and I'm one of your biggest fans. Now, last night I thought you were kind of unfair about something.
Go ahead.
You were talking about players and a lack of talent, and basically, a number of players that were busts. And you mentioned, Abdullah Man was one you mentioned, and I think it was DJ Smith. There were some names you rattled on. And my only problem with some of those names was that you take DJ Smith that you mentioned, he's a redshirt freshman, and even Abdullah Man, who's a junior. Byron Gerardo, I remember people telling me after his first year there at Carolina Junior College that he was a bust. That Byron Gerardo, in his senior year, he was the unmovable object. And Swearinger, you take DJ Swearinger, he played special teams the first 2 years. Remember, he started to emerge his junior year when he actually started, becoming a full-time starter on defense. And he kind of this last 2 years blew up. And,
but you have to admit to me, I get what you're saying, and I might have been out of bounds with DJ Smith. In fact, I think I mentioned he wasn't with the program, but he is still with the program. He's playing special teams. But, I mean, based on his recruiting and the hoopla and the offers, I mean, he is in his second year. I mean, would you not have expected more from DJ Smith at this point, at least in terms of getting on the field and being able to help them out in the secondary?
Oh, DJ Smith?
Yeah. We're talking DJ Smith.
Smith came he came and he was pitched as a corner, but his first place getting on the field last year was a safety. And I mean, he got a jet because he knocked the guy out at Kentucky, but it was baffling that as physical as he played and hitting somebody last year, it was baffling for a lot of people that he didn't get back on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Well, I mean, you're right. Some of these younger guys, the jury is still out on. But in this day and age of college football, because players come and go so quickly with early departures and that sort of thing, you've got to get some quick response from some of them, especially if you have immediate need. You've got to have guys in your recruiting class, in some cases, to step in and help you right away. We'll be right back.
I may play a little Rick to your K-Mac, so I might mute you if so.
And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Time for the high school football report, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you've received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. So get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. Take a look at the high school rankings from the High School Sports Report. In 4A, it's Spartanburg at 3-0. Tavian Feaster has only rushed for 200 yards this year. He's got a bunch of catches out of the backfield, but hasn't really rushed it a lot so far this season. I imagine at some point they'll cut him loose in the backfield. Fort Dorchester, number 2. Hillcrest, Burns, Dorman, South Florence, Northwestern, West Side, Ashley Ridge, North Augusta. That is your top 10. 3A, it's Greer, number 1, followed by South Point, Hartsville, Hanahan, Chapin, Myrtle Beach, Seneca, Hilton Head, Marlboro County, and Airport. In 2A, Dillon, number 1, ahead of Abbeville, Batesburg, Leesville, Timberland, Fairfield Central, Strom Thurmond, Marion, Lake Marion, Newberry, and Chesterfield. And in 1A, McBee is number 1, ahead of Bamberg, Earhart, Christchurch, Allendale, Fairfax, Calhoun County, Lakeview, Cross, Fox Creek, C.E. Murray, and Hemingway at number 10. There you go with the high school polls and the high school football report tonight, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. K-Mac is in Louisville, Kentucky, preparing for the Tigers and the Cardinals. K-Mac, I see that the folks at Churchill Downs are going to allow the fans to do some tailgating there under the Twin Spires. I don't know what the relationship is between the track and the stadium. I guess the two must be pretty close.
Yeah, this is my first trek to trek to Louisville, actually. So I'm not exactly sure where any.
All right, let's take him down.
Anything else?
Your connection there is breaking up, so we'll get back to you in just a moment. Yeah, I guess a lot of folks, being this is Clemson's first time in Louisville, a lot of folks will be hunting and pecking and trying to feel their way around the city to find the hot spots and some of the attractions of Louisville, which there are many when you think about Churchill Downs and you think about Louisville Slugger.
Yes.
Think about Muhammad Ali, who'll be honored tomorrow night, and other things in the city. South Carolina heading to Athens to take on Georgia. Here is Mark Richt, Georgia's coach, talking about getting ready for the Gamecocks on Saturday, taking on Steve Spurrier, and also talking about his quarterback situation where, you know, after 2 starts, they are 2-0, but he had to make some moves during the Vanderbilt game on Saturday. He's hoping everything will work out with the quarterbacks against South Carolina, and they will play well. Let's listen in to a little bit of his press conference from earlier this week.
Grayson in the game seemed to short arm a couple of open, kind of deep balls or, back third balls. And Coach Spurrier's already talked about stopping Chubb and Georgia's running game. He said, well, you just got to crowd a bunch of people to the line of scrimmage and try to stop them. Do you what's your feeling on? Are you guys working some things out with Grayson, and what's your feeling on his ability to be effective that way?
Oh, he's going to be fine. We're going to be able to throw and catch well. We actually threw the ball and caught it extremely well game 1. I mean, Grayson was 8 out of 10. I mean, 8 out of 12 game 1. Every single ball he threw had a purpose. 2 balls he threw away, 2 got batted, which you can't control, and the other 8 were on the money. We know that Bryce was 2 for 2 game 1. Game 2, we had some issues. Obviously, we had a drop ball early on. We had a situation where he actually, as he was getting ready to step up and throw, he actually slipped on the turf, and I think that's why the ball went down. He was off balance, so I've seen him make that throw many times. And I think it's just a matter of getting into the flow of a game and into the flow of a season. But if we go based on how we threw it and caught it yesterday, I feel really good. We were really sharp, and if we continue to practice that way, my guess is we'll play a little bit better in that area.
Mark, following up on what Chip was saying, when you and Coach Schottenheimer talked about the passing game, what did you guys pinpoint about what you guys can do to be better in that regard?
Just first of all, be free to call whatever we think is good. Don't feel like we have to run for X amount of yards, or we have to get the ball to Chubb so many times, or, when I've called plays over the years, you certainly want to use your skill players the best you can and use the talent that you have, but just feel free to attack the defense in the game the way we attacked it all week in the film room. Call what we believe in. Let's go. And, there were some times, like first half, they get the ball first, and then when you have a punt return for touchdown, you lose another possession. So we didn't have that many possessions in the first half because they got it to open the game, and then with the punt return, we lost one there, which is fine. That's just football, and I love the result of the touchdown. And then the second half, was much better as far as number of plays, yards. If you just went by the second half alone, no one would have said a thing about how we were throwing and catching it. But I think we just got to believe in what we do and let it rip. And, we certainly want to have a respect for the football. We're +4, whatever we are in turnovers, and we're doing well in that area. I think we've only thrown one ball that could have been picked, and that was, that little short post route we threw last week. Excuse me, and we have fumbled it a few times and gotten on it, but we do need to respect the football by securing it when we hold it and run with it, and also when we throw it. But you still got to just play ball.
There you go, Mark Richt talking about getting his team ready. Now let's go over to USC. They just wrapped up media interviews a little while ago. Here is Steve Spurrier Jr., of course, the wide receivers coach, talking about his position. Anybody new stepping up in practice this week?
Maybe. Yeah, hopefully some of those guys get a chance. Debo's back. He's practiced all week. He didn't practice much last week, so didn't come into the end, but he's full speed. So expect to see him in there and then kind of see what happens.
You expect Debo to start?
I do. Yeah, Debo back starting.
Is that why he didn't play much last week? Was because he didn't practice?
Yeah, and his hamstring was still a little sore, and he didn't do much Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Came out and moved around a little bit Thursday, but was still, wasn't 100%. So, yeah, he's done well this week. Looks good, and hopefully he's full speed, ready to roll.
The head coach still talking about looking for someone to step up.
So as a receiver coach, that'd be great.
I think it's 17 receptions by receiver.
Yeah.
All by Farrell. So
yeah. Well, we're all a group. We all go out there together. However it happens, we're going to find a way to get the ball to the guy that's open. And Farrell's starting to be open the most, and we've been fortunate to get it to him. So as a group, we just got to keep finding a way to get it to different people. But if we get it to Farrell every time, it's fine with me too.
Carlton Hurd acted any differently, seemed any different this week? Kind of a big game for him going home as a starter.
Nah, no, he's ready to play. He's been grinding it out for a long time, and no, he doesn't. He's just trying to keep learning his ball plays and keep getting ready for every opportunity he's got. And every game's a new game for everybody. It really doesn't matter too much about who we're playing. And it's not like he's been here for 5 years, and this is an emotional game for him. Hell, he's just looking for his chance to go play and make the most of the opportunities he gets.
You were involved in Perry in and up here, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, what did you guys see in him? Maybe it was passed over.
You know what? Perry called me. He just said, I want the opportunity to play for Coach Spurrier at Florida. Is there any chance I can do that? And I went and watched his tape, and we talked to the head coach, talked to Coach Mangus, said, you like this guy? I said, sure. I mean, he's a pretty talented young man. Get him up here. We'd love to have him. So, and he's always worked hard. I mean, the day he got here, heck, he's been here how long now? 3.5 years. And he didn't get admitted early. He applied to school and got waitlisted until January. And he said, I'm coming to South Carolina if I can eventually get there and play football. So we had to hold him out 6 months to get here. And but this is where he wanted to come, and he's earned his opportunities, and I'm proud of him. So.
All right, Steve Spurrier Jr. from just a little while ago over at USC, and he's going to maybe get some of those untested new receivers into the ball game. It certainly is good news that Deebo Samuels is healthy once again and able to play at full speed. Of course, he did play against Kentucky. Don't know if he was full speed or not, but I like what I heard earlier from Hayden Hurst and some of those other guys, the fact that they're playing a lot of too tight sets. Sounds to me like they're going to line up and run it as much as they can. Back in a moment. right, back to Clemson and Louisville. They're going to match it up tomorrow night, 7:30. They're calling this one of the big games, well, certainly of their early season and for this entire season at Louisville, and one of the big games they've had there in many, many years. I mentioned earlier that they're very good at home. Winning percentage in Papa John's Cardinals Stadium of about 74%. Bobby Petrino, though, his team is 0-2, and he's still searching right now for a quarterback answer, a definite quarterback answer. Here he is answering the question this week about his quarterback situation going into Clemson.
Yeah, I think I know who the quarterback is, but we told them that they would get their reps in practice. We would grade the reps, and I haven't had a chance to talk to the quarterbacks yet. So obviously I'm not going to tell anyone else before I talk to the quarterbacks and tell them. But, the other day we came out of the Auburn game. We really felt like Lamar gave us the best opportunity. They did a nice job on defense, on securing the edges and forcing them to throw the ball. And as we got into the fourth quarter, I felt like Kyle gave us the best chance to operate the offense that could get us back in the game. And he came in and did a nice job with it, just like he did it against Kentucky. And, he hits hands and he executed what we were asking him to do in that part of the game. So, and I think he's had a good week of practice and as have the other one. So we just got to grade the video tonight and then meet with the quarterbacks tomorrow. Yeah, we have a bunch of young guys make good plays. I was really happy with Mickey Crum and the production we got out of him, his ability to catch and run. Jalen and Travion Samuel did a good job. We're not being able to run the ball the way we need to. We had a couple series in there where we were able to get the run game going a little bit. And Kyle helped us with that because he could operate it and, work from under the center and do the things that we could take advantage of what they were doing. Defensively, the biggest thing I was upset with was the way we tackled and our inability to keep a running quarterback in the pocket, being disciplined in our pass rush lanes and keeping him in the pocket when we knew that's what he was going to do. So, we got a lot of work to do. We're playing a real good team in Clemson. Their defense doesn't look like they missed a beat. They're physical. Their front seven is very, very good. Their linebackers come downhill and tackle well. Their corners like to play press man, so that, will challenge us there. But I think we're looking forward to that. And then we got a quarterback that's completed 70% of his passes up to date and can run. So it's a good challenge for us. But I think our kids are looking forward to it, and I know our coaches are. Well, he's real experienced, so he operates our offense very well. He throws the deep ball extremely well, as he did last year when they made the switch and brought him in a year ago. He completed deep ball after deep ball, and then he has the ability to run. Now, they haven't asked him to run as much yet in the season, but we know that he has that ability. Well, this is a big game for us, and obviously we're playing a very good football team. I think the atmosphere will be great. You get excited for that. You got to be able to stay focused. Hopefully the two games that we've played and the competition that we played will help us, and we'll see improvement from last Saturday to this Thursday.
Okay, Bobby Petrino, not only does he have an unsettled situation at quarterback, K-Mac, he's got some unsettled situations at wide receiver too, because two of his receivers are out. Of course, he lost a great receiver to the NFL from last year, but his immediate concerns, finding somebody who can consistently run this offense, not make turnovers. They've had 6 turnovers thus far. They've had 6 sacks allowed thus far, and that is why, part of the reason that they are 0-2. If they find that answer tomorrow night, then they'll have a boxer's chance. I'm sorry, I always say that. A puncher's chance against the Tigers tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think they're going to have more than a puncher's chance, certainly. But there are a lot of questions. But playing at home is going to be the key for the feeding off the crowd. I keep saying this, I really think Louisville will play their best game, and Clemson's going to have to play theirs to find a way to win on the round.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, based on what they've done so far this season, going on the road for the first time, I mean, they are really stepping up now in competition in Louisville. One thing about Louisville, I mean, they lost like Clemson did. They lost a significant number of quality players on their defensive side of things from last year, but they've recruited pretty well, especially in the state of Florida. Louisville's gone into Florida, and they've gone into Georgia as well and picked up a number of good players, and you're going to see some of them tomorrow night, such as Shaq Wiggins, former Georgia safety Josh Harvey Clemens, and others. We'll be right back.
It's just bad, K-Mag. It's just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like I couldn't get my thoughts out. I was just like, ugh. It was about a second and a half delay coming right back to me, what I was saying. And I didn't even know. I didn't know if that was going out over the air or not.
Now, for the most part, it wasn't bad. He actually picked up right where you cut off. It kind of ended up being like a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we really? Three at the moment.
All right, back to the phones we go. Our final couple of minutes with you tonight. It's Cockett in Columbia. Hello, Cockett. What's up?
How you doing, man? I just want to give y'all some latest news right the legislation to try to get our school districts in South Carolina when they go out and start hiring coaches. I think it's unnecessary for a coach to be certified to coach football or basketball. I think that he should be, if he has a college degree in physical education, or he has played sports in over 20 years, I think that he should be qualified to coach. I really think that when you look at it, coaches and school districts have enough on their plate when it comes to trying to prepare the game. I think their responsible is for trying to help the school bringing a program up, try to get more involved into the student counseling, so make sure that they're taking college curriculum and courses to prepare them to the next level. I just think that for them to be certified to actually coach, I think that's just another but a political storming ground and causing coaches to not to be out there and coach. And that's one of the things that I'm working on. So you'll be hearing a lot of that in the newspaper real soon.
Okay. Thank you. So was he saying that he does not believe coaches have to be certified as teachers to be able to coach? Is that what he's saying? Is that what he's suggesting, that coaches kind of be separate from the teaching staff? You know, some places there are. I mean, your high-profile coaches, John McKissick didn't teach a class in his latter years at Somerville, and I think things have changed. I mean, you know, when I was growing up, and I'm sure the case was for you too, Pro, and you too, K-Mac, I mean, all our coaches taught classes at our schools, whether it was driver's ed or shop or math or something. They taught something. But now I know here more recently, like Chuck Reedy, when he was at Goose Creek, he didn't teach any classes. You know, he was coach and AD, and that's all he did. Same thing with Tom McKissick. I'm pretty certain, and I'm sure, I shouldn't say sure, but I would imagine that many other of the coaches in sports today around the state are in the same boat, especially on the football side, K-Mac.
Yeah, I think budgets are such now in high schools, and especially public high schools, where they really can't afford to pay a guy a lot of money and not have him do something else. But being an AD is a full-time job. That's a tough job on the high school level. So a lot of those guys are head coaches for the football team and AD and oversee those kind of things as well. But not everybody can make $100,000 a year like Dutch Fork.
Yeah. All right, K-Mac, 15 seconds. What's the forecast for tomorrow looking like?
It's supposed to be a beautiful night, actually. This cooler weather is sticking up here as well. So there's no chance of rain that last I checked, and a nice cool evening in Louisville.
All right, man. Have yourself a great night. Look forward to having you with us to lead us up to kick off tomorrow night. Thanks to all of you for being with us. We'll have our coordinators tomorrow night and more. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, State Man. Good night, everybody, from Sports Talk.